I'm ready. So there's skylights in this office, little behind the scenes look. And I have it set up now, right? So you think I could be Johnny on the spot at 2 o'clock. But it's cloudy today. So it was really dark. I was like, what the heck? It looks like I'm doing film noir. So I had to take a few minutes. Sorry about that. Hey, Kendra. Yay. Welcome to California. Exciting. Kendra's been a traveling woman. And there's Doug. Yay. So make sure everything's good. You don't have 3 eyes. Well, I do, but you can't see one. Okay, so I'm going to speak up. I've noticed I don't like to watch these, which is really bad. And someday we'll do a whole, the chair is an issue, clearly. But someday we'll do a whole thing on how to do Facebook Lives. And there'll be so many things that I will say, don't do this, that you see me do every week. Like mess with my chair, like be late, like there's all kinds of stuff. It's an interesting thing doing these Facebook Lives. And it is blazing hot in here today. It's California, I shouldn't complain, right? Can't complain about weather. Hi, Ben. Hello. Good to see you guys. So today, very exciting. I don't know about you. Get my right notes, got the wrong class up. And also, hey, Doug, can you share this into the group? I remembered. I don't know if you did. So Doug's going to share this into the Hollywood Gatekeepers group. If you are not in the Hollywood Gatekeepers group, why? We realized that we would love for you to share this information with your friends, get them on board, more the merrier. So but you can't share it if we do it inside the group. So we decided to do these Facebook Lives on the page so that people could share it. So if you have friends that you think this might, and today's topic is actually one of those topics. So I'm distracting myself. It's hard to, another thing is that I'm right, that's me right there. I can't see that. So it's really distracting because you have this like picture. Anyway, it's a really good thing. Hey, Peggy, letting go. So this will be a good topic if you'd like to share it with just, regular friends that aren't readers. I think this topic is very universal. I have a table now too, which I thought I was going to use anyway. So I don't know about you. Hi, Cherie. Yay. But last week we did the SMART goals, and if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. And we do, how to set your goals, and then we do the screen reader version over the top. And I always, I don't ever do any of this. The things that I do here are things I really do. So I don't want to be one of those people you should go, blah, 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 and then I don't do it. They're like, SMART goal. So, but I've been really focused on it this week, and really focused on the R SMART, having be swell, allow, relax, trust. And I've been doing it so much that I have SMART. It's become a thing. Whenever I feel myself getting stressed out, or we have a lot going on, so much going on, and we're super excited. There's a lot of stuff. But we have a very small team. And so we're just we're on full speed ahead. And so there's been so many times where I've just been SMART. I remind myself that it's sweet because we're having so much fun and it's really cool. And that I need to allow, relax, trust. And it's been really cool. So just wanted to if you haven't seen that, go back from last week and check it out, because I think it's good in setting your goals. I have a massive task list. So that could be a whole nother topic, is how to manage your tasks and whatever. So whenever the task list starts to become I don't even get that phrase, monkey on your back. I'm not going to use it. So whenever that becomes overwhelming to me, though, I just remind myself, SMART, be smart. Okay, anywho. So check that out if you haven't. And so, and share, you can, that's another, well, actually, I think we did that one in the group, so you can't share it. Sorry. But I think what we're going to do is we found another tool where we could download these videos. So, hey, Cindy, yay. So we are going to download some of these videos. Our YouTube channel is very sad right now because we've never really put any attention towards it. So we're going to make it so these videos are a little more accessible, and put them on this page as well so you can share them. So especially universal topics like today, managing your money mindset, right? Who doesn't need to do that? I think everyone needs to do that. Everyone needs to do that, whether you're a millionaire or whether you're really struggling. And so I think it's really, really important. And so one of the things about being a reader is that, you know what I forgot? excuse me, water. So one of the things that, but I have coffee. So, you know, I've got my priorities straight. Yeah, anyway, I think money mindset is super important. And one of the things about being a reader is that you will be self-employed. Yes, it would help you, right? So you will be self-employed, and self-employment is not employment. I don't know why it's even called that. It's entrepreneurship. If you're self-employed, and like Doug says, you have to go in and ask your boss for a raise. That's the first thing you need to do, right? So if you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, and you have to learn how to run your own business. That's what this is. There are some jobs where, or sometimes where a reader could potentially be hired by a company and you stick with that company and you become an employee. If you kind of move up into story editor and development exec, absolutely. But most readers, most of them are freelance. And so you're juggling a lot of different companies, a lot of different things. And if you want to be a consultant, which is, I think, really the fun part, is when you're working with readers, then you really need to be able to run your own business. And so part of the things we teach are the nuts and bolts of screenplay, breaking down a screenplay. Part of the nuts and bolts of what we teach is how to get and keep a job. And part of the nuts and bolts is how to be an entrepreneur. Because I'm an entrepreneur. I think that's what the word should be. I'm an entrepreneur. How about you? That's totally. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Blue's Clues fan. They're coming back with Blue's Clues. I don't know. Got my doubts. Steve was pretty awesome. Anyway, but yes, seriously though, it is like you do need to know these skills. And although we like to have fun with it, we really want to instill that in the people that learn how to do this from us. Learn a different way, whatever. Do your own. You're all grown adults. Take what you can. Throw the rest away. If I seem cuckoo to you, find your own way. Whatever. It's all good. I think it's all good. And I think today we're going to get a little bit woo-woo because it's all kind of about mindset and that kind of thing. But I will give you 3 more tangible tools to kind of get you started. And then next week, we'll do far more tactical things about what to do. And so we've doing this as all part of the new June that we've been explaining the last few lessons. So if you're watching this after June, it all still applies. I'm not a big believer, or I'm not a big proponent. I believe in New Year's resolutions because I believe that they do get people jump started, but I'm not a proponent of that's the thing. Like, I think you can set goals whenever you set goals. And if you're not on your goal, then set it again, like reset. That's what I do every year, is pick a new word. Reset was my word this year. So just reset. So, but July 1st, half the year is gone. So we thought we'd do Happy Half New Year, and we would do some things to kind of get your goal set and get you back on track for the rest of the year. So this is another edition of New June. So we'll do mindset stuff, and then next week we'll do tangible rubber meets the road stuff about money. So I have a really crazy money history in my family. As a matter of fact, my cousin and I are writing a book about my grandparents. And I'm just going to give you this little background a little bit, just so you know that where I'm kind of coming from. So my grandparents, my great-grandfather invented the round nail, right? It's those dimensions. Nails were square. He noticed carpenters were cutting their mouths, and so he shoved it off and gave it to carpenters, and they were all like, these are great. And so they started telling their friends. Boom. So my grandparents inherited like $300 million in the 20s. And that's like, after the stock market crash and then into the Great Depression, they were really wealthy. So because of where the economy was and the amount of money they had, it would be equivalent to having billions of dollars. And then so my father and my mother, actually, in a whole different financial crazy story, grew up really wealthy. And then by the time that my dad was in college, they had lost it. So really interesting story. Now, I've seen this pattern in my family in a lot of different places. And then I've had some pretty crazy up and downs in my own life. So I come from this perspective of the fascination. It fascinates me, and I love to kind of talk about money because I think it's really, really fascinating. So, yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of a backstory. So, and I'm going to share a book with you today that's really been, Doug's like, oh, the book again. Because I've been sharing this book. I really like thought about it. And so this is the story that my cousin and I are writing a book about their story, because it is fascinating, right? It is a fascinating story. And it's not that far away. It's my grandparents, not even, they've passed away, but it's not that far. So, and there's, we could do, which we will. When the book comes out, you'll be hearing all about it. So, so this is why I think money mindset is really important. And if you look at statistically, I even wrote it down, 2/3 of America could not gather together $1,000 if they needed it in an emergency. That kind of blows my mind. 2/3 of America wouldn't be able to do that. They don't have an emergency fund. And by emergency, I mean like if you break your arm or something, like an emergency, not like I need a new kitchen, like real emergencies. Most people don't have an emergency fund. Half, I think it's like half live paycheck to paycheck, and 49% fear finances, won't even look at their bank account. These are all just really, really interesting stats to me. There's $825 billion in America that's in revolving credit. And do you know how they set those credit limits? So if you pay just the monthly, I don't use credit cards anymore, but if you pay just the monthly due, the minimum monthly due, they figure out that minimum by making it just a few percentages above what the interest is. So that every month you're paying off your interest and the debt is staying the same. So basically you're buying a membership into Bank of America or whatever it is. So unless you're paying down some of that principal, which is kind of stuff we're going to talk about next week, you will never get ahead. It will always be that you're constantly just giving them money. Thank you for holding my money. You're just paying money in that. Whereas if you're able to turn that around to where that money's working for you, whole different conversation that we'll have next week. But that's a really interesting fact to me, that's how it works. So, right, we can't afford it, and we'll talk about that in a second. So it makes me want to go, okay, let's talk about this. If you are going to be doing a job that is very much reliant on your own ability to keep and get work and your own ability to manage your finances, these are things that we need to look at. And the great thing about Hollywood Gatekeepers is there's no judgment here. I don't care. I really and it's not that I don't care, I do care. It's not like I don't care, but it's like, it doesn't matter. If I charge you $100,000 for this pen, that would be a lot of money. Money is just money. If I charged you $100,000 for a house, in some places you could do that, but okay, better example is $5,000 for this pen or $5,000 for a house, right? $5,000, is that a lot of money? Is that a little bit of money? That's it's like, it's just a figure, a number. It doesn't really matter. So there's no judgment here. So the more that we can kind of help each other through that, I think the better it can be, and the better that you will be if you are feeling secure in that place, you'll be able to walk away from work that's abusive. So if you do get in a job, and I always preface this, I've never been abused in Hollywood. There are many, I've only met I've met egotistical jerks for sure, but no one's ever been abusive. I don't have any Me Too Hollywood stories. Yay. Have Me Too, interesting fact. I have Me Too stories, but not in Hollywood. Interesting, right? So, but if you're just not getting along with people at the job you're at, you can walk away if you've got your finances figured out, right? So we think it's important. So we're going to go through 3 things. Hi, George, what's up? And because I had so much fun with my construction paper, and I have it right here. Wait. Never mind. Well, squirrel. So anyway, I have 3 things. Number 1 is I want to get a whiteboard. Let's put that on our list. Number 1, and my notes are a little bit look at my notes. Hard to read. One of these days. Anyway. So number one, I know what it is, but I want to see what I want to start with. Track. I'm going to write this down, and you should too, but actually track. So you want to track what you spend, and ideally you want to do it for a month. There's a couple of good tools. There's Good Budget, which is an app you can use, and then there's Quicken is awesome. It just connects to your bank account. It is you do pay for Quicken, and they do have a paid version of Good Budget, and it tracks. And there's one called Mint, and there's one called Budget Guard. Those are all really great. So, but it will track what you spend, and you might think, oh yeah, whatever. But it is kind of amazing. It's kind of like when you're trying to eat healthier and you track what you eat, and you're like, well, I try losing weight. I don't eat that bad, and then you actually write down what you eat all day. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing. And there's a guy who has he's made millions of dollars doing this course about lattes, about letting go of a latte. And so what can you, where can you put that money? Instead of spending $5 on a cup of coffee, can you drink coffee at home, and where can you put that money? So very tangible, tactical things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about him next week. But so if you just track what you spend, just track, and then start to really look at it, just kind of take a look at your bank account. You might be amazed. One of the things, like for me, you might, I'm not sure what you mean, Cindy. One of the things for me is that I subscribe to a lot of things. I'm trying to learn a lot of things that I can pass along, and we're trying to make this stuff really great. And so I realized I signed up for a lot of subscriptions. And so, like, for instance, I had signed up for this $1 trial, mostly because I wanted to see how the whole funnel thing worked. But I signed up for this $1. 3 months went by, and I had become a member and didn't realize it was being charged $50 a month. I never had even logged in. So when you look through, there might be things that, one, you could just get rid of, and two, that you could get a refund for. And if you get charged, if you're late on something, you get charged a fee. If you call them, more than likely they'll take it off. So they will, because most people won't do that. 99% of people won't call on that kind of thing. So if you do, your odds of success are very good. So I just called them and said I never even logged into this, and they gave me my money back. So a lot of people have been like, oh, shoot, oh, well, I'll cancel it and then forget it. But that was $150 I got right back again, because I hadn't even logged in, and they could see that I hadn't logged in. So you might find some subscriptions. You might find all kinds of stuff in there that you were like, oh, I'm getting charged monthly for this, and wasn't even aware. So definitely be aware. And here's the thing, is like, make your money your new best friend. Like, pay attention. It's your new BFF, and you're going to pay attention to where your money is. You're going to pay attention to what's going on there. If you can't track for a month, track for a week. If you can't track for a week, track for a day. So, yes, gotcha. Yes. So, so that's the first step. So you're going to track, you're going to kind of see, where's that money going? Are you eating out a lot? That was another big one. So when I actually, put all my stuff into Quicken and then looked at it gives you this really pretty wheel. Visuals. It gives you a little pretty wheel that breaks down your finances, and it was like eating out. I was like, oh, okay, a little ridiculous. So So that's a big one for us. And then, and I should have known that, though, because when my child was like 4 or 5 years old, he could identify restaurants by their logos. And I'm not talking fast food, because I would never let him get kids' meals. I'm talking like Red Robin, El Torito's, like all those kind of restaurants he could identify. It's not good. So, although he did eat healthy in those restaurants. So, and as Doug, the last few times Doug and I have been on the phone, I've been making dinner and setting the smoke alarm off. It's not me, it's my oven. Anyway, I digress. So the second thing that we want you to do is another T. This is the fun part. Okay, the first part's like, well, who wants to do that, right? But you know what? It can be fun if you look at it like a game. Gamification is the thing. Track, and then things. I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it does. So things, what do you want? What do you want? Write it down. It's super fun. Just like, oh, I should do this. Oh, it's not in handy. We'll do it another time. Okay, I'll write it down, and then I'll show you what it is. So just start writing down all the things that you want, and the things that things that you need. And need and want, it can be confusing, which is which. So like, you need food and shelter. That's really all, and, medicine and whatever. Those are very few things that you actually need. So then want, even a new car is a want. You can get around not having a car, even in California. And also the West Coast is the highest in credit card debt, which doesn't surprise me. And it's a little tangent, but this is on purpose, not so much a squirrel. The net worth of people in California is the lowest, and their debt is the highest, which makes sense. If your debt is high, your net worth is low, and we can talk about that next week. But because all the dreamers, and I said to myself, oh, that's because all the dreamers are in California. And I was like, well, wait a minute, just because you're a dreamer doesn't mean that you shouldn't be making money. They go together. And for those people that say that Hollywood is not a real job, today, Comcast offered $65 billion, $65 billion for a portion of Fox, and now a bidding war has begun. So for those people that say, oh yeah, film, that's not a real job. When are you going to get a real job? $5 billion in this industry. So, and last night I was going through some channels and kind of looking. We just did a movie night, which was really fun. We'll talk about later, but I was kind of looking at different things. And I started looking at just all the content that's out there. People that say that there's no work. That's what I say to that. So anyway, so now it's just start writing down all the things that you want. What do you want? What do you want? And why? Like, why do you want? So what are some of the charities you want to donate to? Or do you want to buy things for your friends? Or do you want to buy a big house? Or do you want to travel? Or what is, like, be big and write it down. Write it all down. What are the things you want? No judgment. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Just write it down. Have fun. Part of the, sweet part of the sweet part of smart. Wow, that's really hard to say. Part of the sweet part of smart. Got it. Okay, so write all of that stuff down. Why? And then write down kind of why do you want that stuff? Why? So, just really, really, really why do you want those things? Because typically it's the way that you feel. So then the last things that we're going to talk about are the thoughts behind your money. And then you'll see it in there in the little thing. It says dream. I did a dream jar, which I will share with you next time. So put just write all the things you want, visual. And what I did, well, I guess I'm telling you now. I wrote down very specifically, shaking hands with this particular person, talking in person with this particular person, or whatever it might be, and then the first one I drew was taking my son to Africa. I have a friend in Africa. I've always wanted to go, and I want to take my son. And so I reached in. That was the one I filled out yesterday. And then so that way you can actually visualize very clearly. Look around you. Everything in this world, everything. I know. This guy, J.K. Simmons. He was thought of, right? Like, JK, this little doll, like everything. And look, you're kind of Parker. We should all play. But everything, someone thought of this little thing of how to, someone had to think of that before it could happen. So everything in this world. So for you to write these things down, it all needs to be thought of. So, start controlling those thoughts. Start really thinking big. Think big, think big. And then we're going to go into, so I believe I came across this book called The Abundance Code. And no, I'm not getting a piece of this. Not that it would matter if I were. But I'm not getting, I don't know her. I don't know anything about it. But I'm really going to highly recommend this book. I should have used a visual. I keep giving my copy away. I bought it, as Doug can attest, for all my friends. I think it's just a great, I've had every chapter of this book, I'm jaw-dropping ahas with this book. And she basically, her story is a lot like my grandparents. And she had kind of similar, big wins and big losses. And then she wrote this book, and she wrote a book about, and then her parents had lost millions, so she was certain that wasn't going to happen to her. So she became a financial expert. She started training people how to be financially free or how to manage their money. And she started, after her own personal struggles, she noticed that many people she would teach the same things to different people. Now he's with me. She would teach the same things to different people, and it would work for some people and not for others. So it made her start to say, well, why is that? If it works, it should work. And so I believe there's a thing called financial metabolism. Just like when you eat and some people go, oh, well, I don't know what your problem is. And this is how they talk. I don't know why I'm talking that way. Total Valley Girl. I don't know what your problem is. I can eat French fries and I'm fine. Everyone has a different metabolism. Some people look at a cupcake and it's like, so we all have our bodies process foods differently. And I think mindset has something to do with that too. If you believe that you're going to gain weight with certain things, I think that also adds to it. But of course, there are physiological things that happen. I think the same thing is true with money, is that some people metabolize it in a different way than others. Everyone takes the information in, they filter it through the thoughts in their own head, and it comes out in a different way. Same is true with writing. I think it's just that's how we are as a species. So I think with finances, it's the same exact thing. She started noticing that, and she boiled it down to 7 money mindsets that people have, and that trip them up and make it so their things don't work. So I'm going to tell you what those are, and then we have a handout, of course. So the handout will be in the group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, you need to, I don't know why you wouldn't be, you need to get in there. But if you're seeing this maybe later, maybe even after June, who knows when you're seeing this. If you're seeing this video, make sure that you're in the Facebook group, because we give away a lot of free stuff in there. So I'll have a handout that gives you information about how to get this book. And also, and again, she doesn't even know I'm doing this. So it's just, I think it's a great book. So the first one is a scarcity mindset. So I don't know if I'm sure some of you, scarcity versus abundance, that people think that there's not enough of anything. If there's just not enough, there's not enough. And people think that, if I take a piece, and we see this a lot with people, and this is a different mindset, but people blaming, people that have money for things, there's a scarcity mindset. If you have more, then there's not going to be enough for me. That's a scarcity idea. And so it can really, really, really trip you up if you're constantly feeling, it's interesting that we don't have that kind of mindset with other things. I don't think if I get really healthy, then that person is going to be more sick. But we do think if I get really rich, somehow that person is going to suffer. It's really interesting. And to me, those are very similar. The more wealth that you can create, the more you could help that other person. So that mindset just doesn't really ring true to me. So that one's not really mine. Work equals wealth. That you have to work like a dog, and hard work, is just like that. If I just work, that is one for me. Where I work, I'm just going to work, and you cling to it and you work. Yeah, it doesn't always work that way. Some people work and they still don't make any money. So that isn't necessarily, I hear scruffles. And then the third one, sorry, that's the third one. Second one is time equals money. So basically, like, the more time you put into something, the more money you get back. That you're trading time, dollars for hours, as they say. And so 2 and 3 work together, where time equals money and work equals wealth are both kind of along the same lines, a little bit different, but of that work mentality. You have to work in order to get money. And then it takes money to make money is number 4. And so and people say, well, I don't have the money to do that. It takes money to make money. And there is some truth to that, in that the more that you can invest in something, the more money you can make with it. But there's so many, but to have that be the reasons you don't do something, and that's what all of these are, is that the first one is scarcity. And then the second one is time equals money. And then the third one is money equals wealth. And then the fourth one is it takes money to make money. All of those it's even okay, again, no judgment. So even if you have those mindsets, even if you're aware that you have it, it shouldn't stop you. And I see it stop people. Well, it takes money to make money. I'm not even going to try. And that's where it trips you up. So number 5, and this is my family, easy come, easy go. And I've had that in my own life, where I've had money come in and I've had money go out. And I've had times where, man, it's been amazing. And I have other times where it's been horrifying. So that's a thing of where, making money your best friend is a big one for me, because I need to make the money mine, and the buck needs to stop here before it goes on, so that I don't repeat my grandparents' pattern. So, and then you can't buy happiness. That's another one. And there's a comedian that says, yeah, money doesn't buy happiness, but it makes misery a lot more comfortable. And, I've had problems when I don't have money, and I've had problems when I'm financially sound. And I have to tell you, the financially sound problems are easier because a lot of problems become inconveniences. If you are able to sit and watch this movie right now, or watch this movie, blah, 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 and watch this Facebook Live right now, then you are in a really, really great place. And so if you're having the time to be able to do that, you're focusing on, creating new things for yourself, it's really cool. It's true. Money does not buy happiness. Happiness, to me, creates money. So it's definitely the other way around. But if you use that as the way to go, or if you're begrudgingly saying, well, money doesn't buy happiness, they're not happy. Just because they have money, they're not happy. Right. Some people, and I think that's one of the reasons you see wealthy people become really, really despondent, because they get this wealth, especially people who come from nothing and their whole thing is like, I'm going to make money and then everything will be good. And you see it with actors a lot. 2 things that happen in the movie business that you will see as a reader too, is that people make a lot of money on something and then they've made it, right? So then it's like, okay, I made it. Now what am I going to do? And then they get depressed because they've made it and there's no more goal. And so because it's been so contingent on making that money and making that goal, they become despondent. And the other thing that especially actors do, or actually a lot of people in Hollywood, is that they've never learned the business of show business, which is one of the reasons why we're teaching this as well, is that once you start making money, is that they don't learn to manage and they don't think about taxes, for one thing. So they make all this money, they spend all this money, and then their tax bill comes in. They're like, wait, what? So they've never learned the business of show business. And so those are the 2 things that I think that's why you see really wealthy people and, movie stars. That's why you see their lives are often a mess, right? And I think that's part of it. And their relationships are screwed up because they're focused on weird things and they're not able to it's such a weird dichotomy. We could do a whole Facebook Live on celebrity and how it can really be, you have to be so grounded, because on one hand, you have a bunch of people suddenly wanting all this stuff from you, a bunch of people trying to give you things, and then you're trying to maneuver in this new place. You've never had money before, and now you do. So the more that and if you can be a solid rock in the cog of this whole thing, that's what a reader is. A reader is like, we are this kind of ghost figure in this whole thing. No one talks about us. But if we are someone that's supporting these people that are making all this money and doing all these amazing things, you will never need to look for work, because it's such a huge part of it. So, and then the last one is that money corrupts you. That if you get money, you're going to be a bad person. And there's been a lot of that kind of finger pointing with the 1%, and a lot of, and I'm not, there's no political, I'm not doing a political thing of like, the 1% is awesome. No, there are people that have a lot of money that are so screwed up, and it's all fear-based to me. It's all fear-based. If they have a lot of money and they're just so worried then and fearful of losing it, that then they become, I don't want to say greedy, because that's not even a word to me. Greed is greed is good, right? But there is, greed can be very motivating. And so there's people that they make all that money and then they're just clinging to it so bad. And then there's people that are so afraid because they don't have enough money. And both of those to me are the yin and yang of the same stick. They're both that same kind of looking at money in this like way. And so there are people, yes, that in the 1% that absolutely should be turning around and giving their money back. And there are people that hold on to it and it's awful. And then there are people that I know many, 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 many people, and I know of many people that I don't know personally, that Bill Gates is hugely philanthropic. There are people that put tons of money back into things. So it's not about that 1%. It's about how those people, each person is individually responding. So we can't blame a whole group of people, because there are some people in that group that are doing really well. On the other hand, there are people that really need help. And so this is like a real yin and yang and give and take. And what we're trying to do here is make it so that neither side of that matters. You got your own thing, you're working it out, you're figuring out what your mindset is. But just because you have money, and so I think what that can do with the people that are like us, kind of in the middle of that realm, is like, it can make it to where they think, oh, well, it's going to corrupt me. I don't need money. I don't want money. And yet they really do. If you really don't, that's fine too. That's a whole different mindset. And where you want to be is where you want to be. If you want enough money that you can live just, a very simple life, there's beauty in that. Doesn't really matter. The point is to know where you're at and to not be going, I don't want a lot of money, when you really do. If you really don't want a lot of money, you want to live a very simple life, own it, be proud of it, and go from there. So we're really like trying to kind of get rid of these mindsets and really come from a really kind of easy place about it. I know I say that kind of thing a lot, the SMART goals and all that. I know it can be kind of like, yeah, whatever. But I really think that it will help you as a reader. I know that might seem like, I see it. Don't believe me. I see how like crazy that can sound and how, but I really passionately believe it. And as a writer too, the same thing. If you are writing, being able to know what you're feeling, a lot of people, then you're able to handle when you walk into a room and someone wants to offer you money for your screenplay. You know how much money that you want, how much money you need, you know your value, you know what it's worth. We could do a whole nother thing on knowing your value. You're able to be a little more centered with it all. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about, is so that you can walk into a room with very powerful people and hold your own. And that's that is a big part of being in this world as a reader or a writer. And if you are a reader, you are a writer. I mean, if you write screenplays. So those are the things. Do those 3 things. Next week we'll talk a little bit more tangibly about it all. But what I want you to do is when you're thinking about, and I do this as well, I noticed it in myself this morning actually, when I was kind of thinking about doing this, and I was thinking through the idea of the West Coast. It was interesting to me of the West Coast leading the way in debt, and I immediately thought that's because where the dreamers are. And then I heard myself and thought, wow, there I am. I'm equating dreamers with people in debt. That's not what it is. And then I saw that story about 65 billion. I'm like, those are dreamers too. So that was my own money mindset coming through. So start listening to your thoughts. Listen to the people around you. It's really fascinating. You'll start hearing where someone's fear-based when they're talking about money. You'll start hearing things where you go, oh, that's number 6. Oh, that's number 4. You'll start going, oh, that's a time equals money. Oh, yeah, that's you can't buy happiness. Like, you'll start to see those. And the book is, you can go to theabundancebook.com is her website. And Unfortunately, there's no audio version, which she needs an audio version. Don't know why she doesn't have that. So that's kind of the thoughts today. I know I'm getting pretty out from being a reader, but we really want to try and instill these entrepreneurial skills and really, or back them up if you already have them, or just kind of let you know you're in your tribe if you already feel this way about money. And let us know too. I'd love to see in the comments for you to identify, like, which one do you feel more? Definitely easy come, easy go is mine for sure. Like, I already knew that before I wrote this book. Now I wrote it. Before I read this book, I knew that, but I didn't know to the degree until I read her book. She lays it out really, really well. So I really highly recommend it. But let us know, what is yours? Do you think that your thoughts tend to be of number 1, which is the scarcity mindset? Or are your thoughts more number 2, which is time equals money? What are some of the beliefs that you feel like you have? Number 3, where work equals wealth? Or number 4, where it takes money to make money? Or number 5, that's me, easy come, easy go? Or number 6, you can't buy happiness? Or number 7, that money will corrupt you? So let us know what you think your mindset, what kind of rings true to you, that you feel like you've been raised with, or that which one of these is your parents. Money doesn't grow on trees, So that's definitely a money mindset that a lot of parents tell their children. Just, we can't afford it is something that parents tell their children quite a bit, setting up that mindset. You probably had some sort of thing in your childhood that happened that made you really solidify, oh, this is what money means to me. And so I have some big ones with my family because of all the craziness, because my dad trying to sort it all out after going through that with his family has been very interesting. He's had huge windfalls and lost it all too many times. So it's a really interesting mindset thing to deal with. So share with us in your if you feel up to it. If you want to, great. Let us know what is your number. And then definitely you want to track what you spend. You want to write down the things that you want, and you want to think about which of those mindsets are yours. Those are the 3 things. And next week, we're going to talk about just kind of more tactics on this particular topic, because we're getting ready for Happy Half New Year, which is July 1st. And then we'll talk far more. Actually, the week after next, we're going to talk just what is Hollywood Gatekeepers. We're going to kind of go back to the reading thing. I know we're veering off a little bit on money mindset and a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's awesome, Shri. All of them in one way or another, exactly. Work until you die. It's awesome. And it's so, it's so true, right? And it's so universal. And people also cling to their mindset with like everything in their being, to where they'll judge others. Well, no, money is this. It's really, 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 well, we have a handout. I definitely really recommend that you have a journal where you can do all this. I actually kept a journal, and in her book too, she gives you things to write about. She gives you assignments. She calls it digging deep, so that you can kind of figure out where you got that mindset. It's really cool. It's really like so many moments. So we will have a handout that kind of guides you through this. We will post it in the group, and then along with this has been shared into the group as well. So you can look at that. That will help you out. And then we'll just keep going. So definitely listen to yourself. Listen to the things that you're saying to yourself. And if you have a regular job and you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, meaning you're wanting to be a reader and you want to be self-employed, such a terrible term, you want to be an entrepreneur, these are the kinds of steps that you need to take. Listen to yourself, figure all that out, and kind of figure out where you're at with it all. And we really, really think that this is kind of the sort of groundwork of doing all that. There was one more point I was going to, let me see if I got everything. I think there was one more just came to me and then it went away. So yeah, new June, July 1st, we're going to get those goals back in order, get you back on track. And if I think of it, God darn, I can't remember. Squirrel. I had another point I was going to make, but if I think of it, I'll post it in the group. So yeah, soon, who wants to work till they drop? Some people work, their work is like, I love this. This is not work to me. It's a lot of work, and that it's a lot of things we have to get done, but we're having so much fun that there's an ease to it that is really great. And that's kind of, I went through a phase of, and I watched my mother also, she was the yin and yang to my dad, and he's very much a dreamer, and she was very much practical. So she worked in a job for 35 years that she loathed. She hated being a teacher. She didn't even like children. Taught second grade, didn't like kids. So I had these like my, alternative thing, they lived on these different planes. But me too, looking forward to July reset. But I watched her slog through that. And then I went through a phase where I had a job where I really didn't like, but I ended up, oh, that's what it was going to be. Yay. I ended up figuring out, realizing how I could use that particular job, because I took that job in one of my lower points. I took the job to make sure that we were financially solvent. And then after I realized, oh, wait, I can apply this job to my writing. I can apply this job to my theater company. Then suddenly it was like, oh, wait. Then I started signing up for all these trainings. Then it started to become more fun. Then I started getting promoted. And that's what happens. So if you have what we call a bridge job, keep that bridge job. If you have a job that's giving you some financial security, keep that bridge job while you figure this out. And then that way you can step easily into something new, which is what Sheree's going to do with us, right? We're going to step easy into something new. So it's only because she's a screen reader, yay, and so is Cindy, and so I know her story. So we are going to help along the way, we're helping people kind of step into their new shoes. So literally. So so that's kind of, you want to keep that bridge job. You want to look at the things around you that will help you in the job that you're in, help you move forward. So that's it for this week. Doug, anything else I need to talk about? I think that's it. And we will see you next week, where we'll put some rubber to the road in terms of tactics and some financial things that you can kind of put in place as you develop your screen reader career. And for you screen readers, we'll see you in a bit. We do Facebook Lives in there too. So we'll see you in a bit. And we're talking about getting more. Woo, woo. All right. We will talk to you soon. If you haven't joined the mailing list, definitely do that, because we give other tips and tricks there. We try to give away a lot of free content to get you going, to make sure that you're on the right path. And we'll keep going. Bye. We will talk to you soon. I'm going to get some water. How about that? I think that's a good idea.